It was a crisp autumn morning at St. Andrew's Episcopal School, and the vibrant colors of the season painted the campus in shades of orange and gold. Students buzzed around the hallways, chattering about upcoming assignments, weekend plans, and sports practices. Among the usual bustle of activity, a new student, Liam Harper, stood out, but not in a way he wanted. Liam was small for his age, with wire-framed glasses and a slightly timid demeanor. It was his first day, and he carried the unmistakable air of nervousness as he clutched his books tightly against his chest, trying to blend into the crowd. The new kid was always a target, and today Liam felt the weight of dozens of curious and judgmental eyes on him. As Liam walked into his first class, he tripped over the outstretched foot of a tall boy sitting near the entrance. Books and papers scattered across the floor as laughter erupted from the room. "Watch where you're going, nerd," sneered Greg, the self-proclaimed leader of the school's popular clique. His friends snickered as Liam scrambled to gather his belongings, his cheeks flushed with embarrassment. In the back of the classroom, Barron Trump watched the scene unfold. Unlike most of his classmates, Barron was not quick to join in the laughter. Towering over his peers, he was often noticed, but rarely engaged in the social games of high school. His reserved nature made him an enigma to many, but those who knew him admired his quiet strength and sharp sense of justice. As the teacher entered the room, the commotion subsided and class began. But the day was far from over for Liam. At lunch, he sat alone in the cafeteria, his tray untouched as Greg and his friends hovered nearby, tossing taunts his way. Liam tried to ignore them, but their words cut deep. "Hey, Liam," Greg called out mockingly. "Is that a shirt or a hand-me-down from your grandma?" More laughter followed, and Liam's shoulders slumped further. Across the cafeteria, Barron observed the scene with a growing sense of unease. He'd seen Greg and his crew pick on others before, but something about Liam's helplessness struck a chord. Memories of his own struggles with fitting in as the son of a high-profile figure came rushing back. He knew what it felt like to be judged unfairly. Barron stood up, his towering frame drawing immediate attention. He walked across the room, the noisy cafeteria gradually quieting as students turned to watch. "What's going on here?" Barron's deep, calm voice cut through the tension as he approached Greg's table. Greg smirked, leaning back in his chair. "Nothing, Barron. Just having a little fun." "Why? You want to join us?" Barron's gaze was steady. "No. I think you've had enough fun for one day." The cafeteria fell silent, the atmosphere charged with anticipation. Greg hesitated, clearly unnerved by Barron's presence. Despite his bravado, he knew Barron wasn't someone to be trifled with. "It's all good," Greg muttered, standing up and gesturing for his friends to follow him. "Let's go." As they left, Barron turned to Liam, who looked up at him with a mixture of gratitude and disbelief. "You okay?" Barron asked, his tone gentle. Liam nodded slowly. "Yeah, thanks." Barron smiled faintly. "Sit with me," he offered, gesturing to his usual table. Liam hesitated but eventually followed, his heart pounding. For the first time that day, he felt a glimmer of hope. The cafeteria buzzed with subdued whispers as Liam followed Barron to his table. It wasn't every day that the most enigmatic figure in school extended such a gesture. Liam hesitated before sitting, clutching his tray like a lifeline. Barron offered him a reassuring nod, easing some of Liam's apprehension. "Don't let them get to you," Barron said quietly, breaking the ice. Greg and his friends, they thrive on reactions. Liam looked up, surprised by the directness of Barron's words. "Why are you helping me?" he asked cautiously. "You don't even know me." Barron leaned back in his chair, his expression thoughtful. "I know what it's like to feel out of place," he admitted. "People judge you without knowing anything about you. You shouldn't have to deal with that alone." Liam nodded, sensing the sincerity in Barron's voice. For the first time that day, he felt a flicker of belonging. By the end of the day, word of Barron's intervention had spread like wildfire. Students whispered in hallways, exchanged texts, and speculated about why Barron had stood up for the new kid. Some admired his courage. Others, particularly Greg and his clique, were less impressed. "Who does he think he is?" Greg muttered to his friends as they lounged near the gym after school. "Just because his dad's famous. He thinks he can boss everyone around." His friends nodded, though their agreement was half-hearted. Barron's actions had struck a nerve, and even Greg's usual bravado couldn't fully mask his unease. The next morning, Liam entered the school with a mix of trepidation and curiosity. Would things be different? As he walked toward his locker, he felt the usual stares but noticed something else. Fewer sneers, less mockery. It seemed Barron's presence had shifted the dynamics, at least temporarily. During their shared biology class, Barron motioned for Liam to sit next to him. Liam hesitated but then accepted, grateful for the gesture. Throughout the lesson, Barron helped Liam with diagrams and notes, his calm demeanor making it easier for Liam to focus. "Thanks," Liam said quietly as class ended. Well, everything." Barron shrugged, a small smile playing on his lips. "You'd do the same if it were me." Liam wasn't sure he believed that. Standing up to someone like Greg required a level of confidence he didn't think he possessed. But Barron's words stayed with him, planting a seed of self-worth he hadn't felt in years. Later that week, the school organized a debate competition. It was one of the few events where students from all grades mingled, showcasing their wit and rhetoric. Barron, known for his measured intellect, had reluctantly agreed to participate at his teacher's insistence. To everyone's surprise, Liam signed up as well. When the names were announced, Greg smirked. "This should be good," he whispered loudly to his friends. "The nerd and the golden boy." Barron ignored the comment, his focus on helping Liam prepare. Over lunch breaks and after school, they worked together, exchanging ideas and strategies. "You're good at this," Barron observed during one session. "You just need to trust yourself more." Liam flushed but smiled. "I've never had someone believe in me like this before," he admitted. Barron's gaze softened. "Sometimes, all it takes is one person to remind you of what you're capable of." The day of the debate arrived, and the auditorium buzzed with anticipation. Parents, teachers, and students filled the seats, eager to watch the verbal sparring unfold. Liam's hands trembled as he stepped onto the stage, but a reassuring glance from Barron steadied his nerves. The debate topic was challenging: the ethics of technological advancements in education. Barron's composed arguments showcased his critical thinking, while Liam surprised everyone with his passion and eloquence. By the end of the session, even Greg looked impressed, though he tried to hide it. When the results were announced, Barron secured first place, and Liam took a well-deserved second. The audience erupted in applause, but for Liam, the real victory was internal. He had finally proven to himself that he belonged. The following week, the school introduced an anti-bullying initiative inspired by recent events. Teachers and students were encouraged to participate, sharing stories and suggestions to foster a more inclusive environment. Barron, to no one's surprise, became an informal leader of the movement. What surprised everyone, however, was Liam's active involvement. During one of the meetings, Liam shared his experience. "I used to think I had to just endure it," he said, his voice steady. "But then someone stood up for me, and it changed everything." We all have that power to stand up for each other. His words resonated deeply, sparking discussions and commitments from students across the school. Even Greg, though reluctant, toned down his antics, perhaps realizing the growing disapproval of his behavior. As the months passed, Liam flourished. With Barron's encouragement, he joined the school's robotics club, where his keen intellect and innovative ideas earned him respect and recognition. Meanwhile, Barron continued to be a quiet force for good, his actions speaking louder than any words could. Their unlikely friendship became a symbol of change at St. Andrew's, a reminder that kindness and courage could bridge even the widest divides. The friendship between Barron, Trump, and Liam had become the talk of St. Andrew's Academy. Their camaraderie wasn't just a story of kindness. It was a testament to the power of standing up for what's right. Over time, Their bond sparked a wave of positivity throughout the school. Greg, once the reigning bully of the halls, began to notice the shift. His usual tactics were no longer met with laughter or silent approval. Instead, he encountered awkward silences or outright disapproval. Even his closest friends seemed reluctant to join in his antics. One afternoon, during gym class, Greg saw Liam excelling in a soccer match. His quick passes and strategic moves were earning cheers from the sidelines. Greg's irritation bubbled over when one of his teammates commented, "Liam's really stepped up, hasn't he? He's a solid player." Greg couldn't resist muttering under his breath, "Yeah." Thanks to his new babysitter, Barron, who was nearby, heard the remark but didn't rise to the bait. Instead, he walked over to Greg after the match ended. "Greg," Barron said evenly, "what's your problem with Liam? Or is this just about needing someone to pick on?" Greg glared at him, but the usual bravado was missing. "You think you're better than everyone else because of who your dad is," he snapped. Barron folded his arms. "This has nothing to do with my dad. This is about treating people with respect. You don't have to like Liam or me, but you don't have the right to tear people down." For a moment, Greg looked like he might argue, but something in Barron's tone stopped him. Instead, he walked away, leaving Barron standing on the field, resolute. The school's anti-bullying initiative continued to gain traction. With Barron and Liam at the forefront, more students felt empowered to share their stories and ideas for change. The administration took notice, implementing policies to address bullying more effectively. One of the most impactful moments came during an assembly when the principal invited Barron and Liam to speak about their experiences. Liam stepped up to the microphone first. His voice, though nervous, carried across the auditorium. "A few months ago, I felt invisible here. I thought I had to deal with things on my own, that speaking up wouldn't make a difference. But someone showed me that it does. Standing up for someone can change everything." The students applauded warmly as Liam stepped back, his confidence shining through. Barron followed, his presence commanding attention. "I've learned that being a bystander isn't enough," Barron began. "We all have a choice, to ignore what's wrong or to take a stand. What happened with Liam wasn't about making a statement. It was about doing what's right. We're stronger when we lift each other up." The applause was deafening, and for the first time, the school felt united in a shared purpose. Weeks later, the effects of Barron and Liam's efforts were evident. St. Andrews had become a more inclusive place, where students felt safer and more supported. Clubs saw increased participation, and initiatives promoting teamwork and respect flourished. Greg, meanwhile, had grown quieter. One day, during lunch, he approached Liam's table. The cafeteria seemed to hold its collective breath as Greg stood there, tray in hand. "Mind if I sit here?" Greg asked awkwardly. Liam and Barron exchanged a glance before Liam nodded. "Sure." The conversation was stilted at first, but over time, it became clear that Greg was trying to change. His jokes were less cutting, his demeanor less confrontational. While it wasn't a perfect transformation, it was a start. Months turned into the end of the school year. During the final awards assembly, the principal announced a new accolade, the Heart of the Academy Award, given to a student who exemplified compassion, leadership, and resilience. The inaugural recipients were Barron, Trump, and Liam. As they walked to the stage together, the applause was thunderous. It wasn't just a celebration of their achievements, but a recognition of the change they had brought to the school. Barron, holding the microphone, turned to Liam. "This isn't just about us," he said, addressing the crowd. "It's about everyone here who's decided to make St. Andrews a better place. Thank you for proving that kindness isn't a weakness. It's our greatest strength." After the ceremony, Liam and Barron sat on the steps outside the auditorium, watching the sun dip below the horizon. "Did you ever think things would turn out like this?" Liam asked, his tone reflective. Barron smiled faintly. "Not really. But sometimes, all it takes is one moment to start something bigger." Liam nodded, understanding the weight of those words. Together, They had created something lasting, a ripple of change that would inspire others long after they were gone.